My name is Arin Lindauer, and you're listening to A Life Without Struggle. I'm a wife, a mother of 2 wonderful children, a 2-time best-selling author, and a highly driven and successful entrepreneur. In my 17-plus year career as a mindset and health expert, I know what holds women back from a life you only dream about. Whether you're a CEO, a businesswoman, or executive, I started this podcast because I have been where you are, and I know you want and deserve more out of your life. I believe women are limitless. We just get lost along the way. The process to get you there is the topic and purpose of this podcast. When you understand what you want, you can truly step into a life without struggle. Welcome, and I'm so thankful you're here. Welcome back to another episode. My name is Arin Lindauer, and today we're going to dig into some common questions that I hear women ask when it comes to weight loss. So today we're going to dig into really some tactical, and I want to get a little bit deeper than we normally go here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to dig into these 3 common questions. And so the first question I get is, what's the best diet for weight loss? So we're going to dig into that one pretty deep. Another one of my favorites is, how can I lose the belly fat? Typically, I will have a woman, if I'm in person, she'll grab a part of her of her body. It's wild. And so I can't wait to dig into that specific topic. And then also, how can I stay motivated and overcome plateaus? So that one's going to be a really good one to dig into. So let's dive head first. What is the best diet for weight loss? So many women, they want to know which diet or eating plan is the most effective for weight loss. And they will talk to me about keto or paleo, intermittent fasting, low carb. And what is so important to emphasize is that the best diet can vary from person to person. Also, what is sustainable and what is more balanced. And so we have to truly align personal preferences, personal needs, and we really have to look at things more long-term versus quick fix. So here's the deal. For most women, if they have tried keto, for example, or if they have tried intermittent fasting, for example, it may work for a certain amount of time, a certain type of restriction, a certain time period in their life. I have had a lot of women who will tell me, man, in my 20s and 30s, I could just do this diet and the weight would just fall off. And now they're 40, 50, 60, and the weight is just not coming off by doing the same things that they've done before. Well, there's such a thing as your body changes, hormones change, and the way you respond or your insulin sensitivity is different, and it does change. Your activity may have changed, so the inflammation in your body has changed. So there's a lot of factors. So the thing that I want to call out is anytime you hear someone doing keto or paleo or more of like a Mediterranean style diet or a low carb diet. So here's the thing about all of that is you're making adjustments to how you're eating. You're saying, okay, I need to reduce my carb intake. I need to focus on more protein, more good fats. Maybe Mediterranean, you're focusing on more fish and veggie. So you got to really look at the big macro picture when it comes to a different diet. Like, what is the diet trying to achieve? You've heard me say this if you've listened to podcasts before, but if you cannot do the diet, if you cannot eat the way the program is telling you to eat for the rest of your life, do not do it at all. Okay. Now, side note, sometimes you do some things to maybe jumpstart, right? Maybe you restrict your calories just for a couple days to kind of reset you. Everybody's heard of cleanses, and I'm sure you're curious, like, well, okay, what about a cleanse? Cleanses are fine, but you have to understand what they are. It's an absolute restriction. I've seen people do juice cleanses. I mean, I did one myself just to see, because I was like, man, what are people putting themselves through? And I barely made it. So the point of it is, like, we're just trying to move things through your system. We're trying to clean things out. But here's the deal. So many things get stuck in our digestive tract, and we don't even realize it can take 6 months to a year to heal a gut, to actually heal a gut that is quote unquote a leaky gut. And it's very hard to know, yes, exactly that we have a leaky gut. Now, I do believe that there is new technology and that we have new testing that can in fact, tell us, hey, you do have a leaky gut. Okay. So here's the deal. What is the best option? I also want to touch on intermittent fasting. So everyone thinks fasting is such a cure-all. It is and it isn't. At the end of the day, we're creating a caloric restriction if we're using something in weight loss. So intermittent fasting can be done a multitude of different ways. You maybe consider having a daily fast where you only eat in a certain window of time. But again, the food that you consume has to be in a caloric restriction if we are going to see weight loss. Okay. A daily fast is fine. For most of us, we do a daily fast anyways. Maybe you eat breakfast at 6 a.m., you eat dinner at 6 p.m., and then you stop eating. You don't raid the pantry at night. That would be considered a fast. Some people choose not to have breakfast, for example, until maybe 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. That could be considered, and then they stop consuming food somewhere in that 6-7 hour. That could be considered a daily fast. Intermittent fasting can come in where maybe you don't consume food 1 day a week, or maybe you choose 2 days a week. Those would be considered intermittent fasting. Again, we want to practice something that we can do for the rest of our life. I find that a daily fast is probably best for most people, but you cannot just eat, 3,000, 4,000 calories in that time and expect to see weight loss. So there's a lot more that goes into that from more of the science side of things. But what I want to call out is, okay, what is the best diet for weight loss? So truly we want to look at, okay, how can I eat for the rest of my life? What does this need to look like? And for most of us, we need to keep a very balanced mindset when it comes to eating. What I find that works best for most women is having breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and very minimal snacking, if any, to be completely transparent, especially if she is in a weight loss phase. Now, here's the caveat. If she is walking over 10,000 steps, if she is resistance training, guess what? She may need to have a snack somewhere in there, especially if she wasn't going to have dinner until 6, 7 o'clock at night. And let's say lunch was at, for example. And so you want to think about, how do I build my meal around protein? For most humans, they do not consume enough protein. They just have no idea where is protein. Protein is going to be in a lot of different foods. Higher protein foods are definitely going to be your animal meat, your eggs, cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, and then certainly you can get it from legumes, all your beans, and you definitely get some in your green leafy veggies and other items. So when you're thinking about building each of your meals, you want to start first with the protein source. What is that source? How many grams of protein is that? And for most women, want to have a good 20, 30 plus grams of protein if we are desiring weight loss and we are not working out, too extensively. Okay, if we're just working out a couple days per week, using dumbbells, not a big deal. That is perfectly acceptable. Now, let's just say a woman has lost her weight and now she's putting on lean tissue. Then we typically recommend matching your ideal body weight, which I would venture to say you're pretty darn close to that. And you're going to want to increase your overall intake. Now, you may be saying like, gosh, Arin, that's just a lot. That's a lot of meat. I just don't consume that much meat. And so listen, I gotcha. So a lot of different ways that I sneak it in is with either Greek yogurt or cottage cheese. I definitely love beef jerky or chicken jerky, that kind of stuff. And then I pretty much every day take in some type of high quality protein powder. And so it's something to consider that you want to look at your protein powders and understand, okay, what is a better protein? Also consider this, if it is a ready to drink protein drink, there is a reason it can sit on the shelf for eternity or at least a couple years. So just remember that there's preservatives, some stabilizers, things like that in there. And especially if you're going to consider drinking it on a daily basis, you just want to consider some of those things that are in there. Also, if your protein powder makes you gassy, makes you bloated, it's not a good protein powder for you personally. There's too many additives, there's too many just whatever. So consider that. So to sum up, what is the best diet? It's the one that you can stick to for life. It's one that focuses on protein and that you create an overall caloric deficit between how many calories you burn and how many calories you consume. So I know that's not sexy. I know everybody's like, okay, Arin, I got it. But that is what it takes. Everybody wants to make nutrition way harder. And the reason it gets harder is because there's emotions, there's belief systems, there's, I feel a certain way, therefore I'm going to eat X. And that's a whole nother topic that we can talk into. But it's something to recognize that if you keep finding yourself not being able to adhere to just eating better portions, considering better whole nutrient dense foods, we've got to really understand, okay, what am I putting in my body? So that one's super loaded. I know it's not surprising for a lot of you who've been listening for a hot minute, but hopefully some nuggets kind of pull out and are helpful for you here today. Okay, so let's address this second question. This is hands down one of my most favorites. So how can I lose the belly fat? Or I will have a woman grab her arm and shake it in front of me and say, how do I get rid of this? And so here's the deal. Targeting specific areas of your body, like your belly, like your arms, is a common concern. So women often ask about exercises or dietary strategies to reduce, the abdominal fat or the fat on their triceps, for example, the back of their arm. And it's important to clarify that spot reduction is not effective. So it's an overall fat loss through a combination of balanced diet, regular exercise that's going to lead to the actual reduction in body fat. So including the abdominal or your arm. So it is impossible without liposuction, not that I'm condoning that, because the fat doesn't come back in the same spot. So just FYI, that's a whole nother topic. But here's the deal. You cannot just spot reduce. You cannot just do crunches, which PS, don't ever do crunches. They're terrible for your spine, and there's a million better ways to work your abdominals. But you cannot just pull fat off a specific area. It's going to be an overall reduction in your body fat composition. So you want to understand that you cannot just spot reduce. Now, here's the thing. I can appreciate with the arm area, for example, you've got to also understand the elasticity in your skin. So if you've been overweight for a certain amount of time, that skin gets stretched. The elasticity as we age will just naturally decrease. Okay, so Sure, there might be some really good firming creams and things like that, but again, it's not going to create. So you want to be really realistic with, okay, what does my body look like now? Okay. And so what can we do with our arms? Well, what we can do is we can fill out the skin by increasing the size of our biceps, increasing the size of our shoulders, and increasing the size of our triceps. Here's the caveat. Most women hate working their upper body, myself included, but we do it, right? And that's what will actually make that look close to the desired look that most people want or most women want. So we have to lose the overall fat first, and it's going to be across your entire body. There is no way to just, I'm going to zap the fat off my stomach. It just doesn't happen. So I want to call this out because all the time I almost don't even speak into it because I don't want to let someone down. And so I feel like saying it here on a podcast, I'm not directly saying it at someone, but it's one of those things. If the skin got stretched, the skin got stretched. Yes, we can tighten it. Yes, you can always remove excess skin. But just remember, got to get the weight off of you, keep it off for a duration of time before I would ever consider, okay? Because that can get very, very dangerous. So again, we cannot just spot target and zap the fat off one area without medical procedures that I don't recommend. All right, the last topic here is how can I stay motivated and overcome plateaus? So maintaining motivation and breaking through weight loss plateaus are definitely a challenge that I see for women. So women ask me all the time, like, how do you stay so motivated? And so the thing you want to think about is really setting realistic goals and then overcoming just period of static progress. Okay. So you want to think about consistency. You want to think about tracking your progress so that you can see like, okay, hey, 10 pounds just went by, 15 pounds just went by, 20 pounds just went by, and you've got to celebrate those wins. So we want the end result and we want it like yesterday. I 100% can appreciate that, but we have to celebrate the small wins. I remember when the scale wouldn't move. And this is like week after week after week. And I was like, holy moly, what is going on? And then all of a sudden it dropped. And that's the thing you've got to remember. At some point, it will drop. At some point, it adds up to enough wins that the scale does move. The problem is most of us have a short attention span, myself included, right? And so we have to remember that this is for life, that it may not just happen yesterday. And here's the deal. If you're looking for motivation, your reward is not great enough. You haven't dug deep enough into why you value having your health at a certain level, okay? Or there's a limiting belief. There's something that could be blocking you. There could be fear. There could be anxiety. There could be just something that you didn't even realize. So here's the deal. If you're waiting on motivation, it's never coming. Like absolutely never coming. Eating right, working out, moving your body, it needs to be a part of who you are. So every day you get up at this time and you do said workout or go for a walk, right? And then you fuel your body because you want to have good energy, like feeling better in your own skin. Love how your clothes fit. You love the fact that you're able to shop your own closet. Love the fact that you can go into any store and everything fits, okay? So plateaus, I want you to change your mindset around a plateau. Celebrate it like, okay, sweet, I got myself here, okay? I've stayed here for a certain amount of time. Okay, what do we need to tweak? what needs to shift? This happens a lot in weight loss. Like I'll see a woman lose, 20, 30 pounds and then get stuck. And so what you have to think about is what it took you to get to that point is going to be different to get to the next point. Now, I want to put a huge asterisk. It's not going to be a crazy huge epiphany, but it's going to require another tweak. Okay. Another thing that I didn't consider. So it does get down to the nitty gritty. The closer you get to said goal, do not have the flexibility. You do not have, well, crap, I had a bad day. Well, to hell with it, right? Whereas before, in the earlier part of your weight loss journey, if you snuck a cookie here or there, it's like, nah, it's okay. Because in reality, we were in a different caloric deficit. Think about this. When you've lost a significant amount of weight, so 20, 30, 40 pounds plus, your metabolic process is now lower. So what that means is you cannot consume as much food. Now, I'm going to say that with a huge asterisk. This doesn't mean everybody needs to eat 1,000 calories. That's not what I'm saying. But it means you've got to shift things down just a touch to get to the next spot. And then we need to do some cycling. Okay, so there's some different strategies around refeeding, refueling, and that's when we get to a whole nother level. So how do you stay motivated? I don't want to say your why has to be strong enough, but that's part of it. You have to desire this new level of health, this new woman that you are becoming. And she's so damn important to you that you are willing to do anything and everything it takes. That things that used to bother you, not even a problem. Okay? So these 3 points are 3 points that I get asked a lot, and I hope that this was helpful to dig a little bit deeper because it's really highlighting the importance of personalizing your guidance and your support in the weight loss journey. There's not just this cookie cutter approach. It can't just be eat 5 packets of food in a sensible dinner, right? Or whatever it is now. Like that stuff will be a temporary fix, I promise you. It's not teaching you. It teaches you, if I restrict my calories, boom diggity, I see results. But that is not what's going to get you lifelong results. It's essential to consider individual factors, preferences, goals when addressing weight loss concerns. So you want to talk to someone who understands this inside and out and who can really tailor the strategies for success and a sustainable weight management program, okay? Because typically we don't have a weight loss program or weight loss problem. We have a weight loss maintenance problem. We have a lifestyle problem. We think we can just eat whatever the heck we want and not suffer any consequences. And, there's this huge message that I want to get out to women that, hey, you can't eat as much as your husband. Relative, some men are not as big as other men, right? Some women are not as small as other women or as big as other women, right? So it's, again, relative to the size of your body. What I would recommend for myself versus a woman who is 6'7", 6'8", 6 foot is going to be totally different. I'm a whole 5'3" on a good day, right? So, and that was very challenging for me. I remember when I first met my husband and I would try to keep up fist for fist, beer for beer, right? And it's just wild how quickly weight went on my body. And I was like, oh, dang, what's up? And so I had to really get real with myself. Like, hey, you can't put that big of a portion on your plate. Could I eat it? Heck yes. Did I want it? Of course. But that's the thing where we've got to really get intentional on what it is. If you've ever, and this is going to be funny, and I hope you guys laugh, and I'm saying this in all respect, but if you've ever had the stomach flu, everybody's all safe and healthy here, but if you've ever had the flu and you were not able to keep anything down or in your body, let's just put it at that, you know that you'll lose weight on the scale, right? And then it takes you a second to be able to consume food like you normally would. In that moment, your stomach shrinks. Okay. And so that's what you want to think about in a weight loss journey, that, yeah, you're going to feel those rumbles. And I want you to get giddy when you feel that rumble, especially later at night. And you go, okay, I'm in a caloric deficit. I definitely feel that. Now, you won't feel that forever, but that's what you're going to feel when you reach each hump or when you first start a program. Okay. Have to be okay with getting just a little bit uncomfortable and feeling a little bit of hunger. Now, by no means should you feel that way the rest of your life. That is not true. But the point of this is your stomach has to shrink. The stomach is a muscle and it can stretch and grow based on overeating, taking in excess calories, too big of portions. And it can also shrink back. And that's one of the coolest things about it is I will have clients tell me all the time, I cannot even come close to eating what I used to eat. I know my husband has coached multiple men and just they talk about how much pizza they consume. And it's just kind of wild, like how many slices of pizza someone can consume. And when you think about that, it's like, man, that's gross and just really terrible for you. But of course, it tastes good. I don't think I've ever met a piece of pizza that didn't taste good, right? But you want to think about what it's actually doing in your stomach and how it's expanding, and when the water comes in, and then just the retention and the glycogen, and how is it burning? And I mean, there's just so many things we could talk about when it comes to nutrition. But at the end of the day, you have to find what works best for you. I've told women over and over and over again, breakfast is not the most important meal of the day. If it works for you, cool, awesome. If you like breakfast, lunch, dinner, nice. If you like to start your first meal at 10, 11, cool. And space your meals out. Do what you got to do. At the end of the day, it's how many calories did you consume? So I hope this sheds some light on these very important questions that I get day in and day out. And I hope that this can help give you a little more insight to this, because we cannot just spot treat, get rid of fat. That's one big one. And then staying motivated and overcoming plateaus. Like, listen, if I waited for motivation, I would never, like, ever. But I think when you desire a certain outcome so deeply that it's like, you know what, girl, come hell or high water, I'm going to hit it. And you could say that about any goal that you want in life. Okay. And plateaus are a good thing. It means, cool, we got to this point. Now what? What do I got to do now? How curious can I get to this process? All right, ladies, you keep getting it. And I hope this was helpful. And I'll see you on the next podcast.